Hey, what's up? My name is Ryan. In this video, it's the second video in a series where I'm just going through and talking about some of the most common board game mechanisms. The mechanisms are the way the game actually works. Like, what are you doing in the game? Are you drafting cards? Are you rolling dice? And all that sort of stuff. Now, in the first video, I covered worker placement, one of my favorite mechanisms. And today we're talking about roll and move, which is terrible and horrible, and everyone should hate it. Okay, maybe that's a little extreme. But let's jump right in and see what we mean when we say a game uses the roll and move mechanism. Lots of games that utilize this roll and move mechanism will give players pawns that you place on a board, some sort of central board that has a path or tracks through it, and they have so many spaces. Players will then roll dice and you move your pawn down that track, however many spaces the dice saves. So if you roll 5, you move 5 spaces. On top of dice, I'm also going to include a few other randomizers into this system. For example, spin and move, like in the game of life, and really any other way for players to be randomly assigned a number of movement points they have to take that turn. Now, if this seems really simple, it's because it is. So rather than being positive in this video and starting out all this good stuff, I'm going to jump right into hating on some games, and we'll save all that positive stuff for later. Of all the mechanisms we have in board games, roll and move has been utilized the most in lazy, boring, completely random games. Some of these games draw you in with kind of the guise or the promise of theme or something interesting, and really just come down to whoever rolls the highest is going to win the game. Now, I know some people are going to defend these games and say, well, they're really good for children. They'll teach them how to roll and move that many spaces. And that is true to a certain extent. I can play Trouble with a kid and they can have a great time and not realize how extremely random and kind of pointless what we're doing is. But I'm not done hating yet. Positives later. What can be even more frustrating to me than completely random games are games that offer you like the hope of strategy. They pretend you can be strategic and make great decisions, and it comes down to being so lucky because it's roll and move. Monopoly is the great example of this. Oh, I guess I lost because I kept hitting the stupid tax space and missing all the good spaces. Well, you see, what you should have done is what I did. I rolled a 6 and I hit Park Place. Then my next time around, I rolled an 8 when I was on the same space and I hit Boardwalk. That gave me a Monopoly. That is how I won. We had the game of life as kids set in the Pirates of the Caribbean universe, and it looks so cool. This game is like, oh, you can buy boats and you're going to battle other people. And you think it's so strategic, and it really just comes down to, oh, when you spin, you want to hit the income spaces. So if you hit a 2 or 4 or 7 this time, that's good. But if you roll 3, that's bad. That's a negative space. And you just spin the spinner and go, oh, I guess I had a bad turn. Okay, that was a lot of hate from me. I'm not a hateful person, but on to the positive side of things. As I will say multiple times throughout this series, good board game designers, good games can use mechanisms and use them in interesting ways. So here are a few examples of games that I really like that use roll and move, but use in a way that actually is interesting and gives you decisions while being random. The first one I'm going to use is I'm using it specifically because it was made almost 40 years ago. I just want to show you that it's not just that people use roll and move badly for 80 years and we just now figured out how to make it fun. Like in the 80s, this game came out called Heimlich & Company, or it might have been called, we had a version called Top Secret Spies, and it uses roll and move in a way that actually is really, really engaging. So the players are all given a card that has a color on, and your color tells you which spy you are. There's a whole bunch of spies on the table. There's even some dummy spies that no one actually is. So maybe you're playing a 4-player game, there might be something like 6 spies out there. You only know what your color is. You don't know what anyone else's color is, and you don't know some of the colors, again, might not even be represented by a player. So all these pawns are in the center of the table on the center ring, and when you roll, you can move them, but you don't just move yours. You move any pawn you want to, and you can move it forward and stand on a space that has a number 4 on it, or you can move it forward to get to the number like 6. Eventually, if you move around far enough, you'll reset down to 0. I believe there's even a -3 spot in the board. Now, one of those spots contains a safe, and one of the spies or agents lands on the safe spot. All the players activate in their ring, and on the outer side of the board, you start moving around the main track. So if your guy's standing on a 6, the blue is going to move to 6. If the green guy's standing on 2, it's going to go forward 2. If your guy's on -3, it's going to go backwards -3. Why this is interesting is because no one knows who each other is. It's hidden information. So when you roll a good roll, a high roll, it's not necessarily even good. It might not even be that helpful. Really, you're trying to trick everyone and keep your guy kind of in running for the lead, you don't want to give away that you're blue right away, because then everyone will move you to the really low numbers on their turn. They'll be too obvious. So basically you just roll and move in a way where the higher numbers aren't necessarily better. It's just you roll the dice, you get a random number, and you're trying to disguise yourself and disguise your movements enough. You can move multiple players on your turn so it's not obvious who you are. Basically, it's a really clever hit and roll game. It's been around for 40 years, and it basically uses this roll and move idea, but makes it really interesting. Another great example is Yarhar Hunt. This is actually a kids game I did review on my channel because I really like this game. It's just, you're pirates, you have a big open board, and you're trying to go to spots on the board and find treasure. The way you just roll and move in an interesting way though, is you're all on a team, and you're trying to get to all these different spots and find the locations, find the shovel, find the mountain, and those spots are on the board, but you're assigned those cards of what you want to get to. What's interesting is as you spread out in the game, you're actually drawing out of a bag numbers instead of rolling. But if you're drawing numbers, you can draw a 5. 5 is a great move. But let's say your character is only 1 space away from the shovel and that's your next location you want to go to, but another player is 5 spaces away from the treasure chest. Well, you could use that 5 for yourself and move 1 space. That's not very efficient. You're better off passing that to your teammate and letting them pick the bigger move. So the game kind of comes down to taking the most efficient moves you can. You don't want to waste too many movement spaces because you might move out total moves to get everywhere on the board. You want to help each other. It's a cooperative game, working together. Again, don't run out and buy that if you're waiting for like, you know, the next Eldritch Horror or something. It's a pretty simple light game, but I think it's an amazing game. And people who say, oh, we should play, you know, sorry, you're trouble with kids, it teaches them how to count spaces. This does teach them how to count spaces too, but does it in such a better way because there's actually strategic decisions you want to make. You might want to leave yourself in the middle of 2 spaces so you're happy with a 1 or with a 4. There's so many great choices, and it's a little tiny kids game. So another great game is Camel Up. Camel Up uses roll and move in the sense that there's camels in the center of a board, and the players are though not the camels. The players are the people who are watching the camel race, basically like a horse race, and placing bets on which camel they think they'll win each kind of short leg of the journey. The way the roll and move comes into play is you're going to be rolling dice out of a pyramid. You're going to basically push a button, 1 die will fall out and roll. And let's say it's a blue and it rolls a 1. The blue camel moves up 1 space on that journey. Camels can jump on top of each other, so the game is actually a lot of laughs, chaotic fun. But the interesting thing is you're doing your turn. You're not necessarily saying, I want to be blue camel, but you can place a bet that you think blue will win this leg of the trip. Well, if you have that bet in front of you, the next person to bet on blue gets a lower return. So they might go for green because they think, well, there's a chance when the green dice rolls out of here, green will jump in front of blue. So a great way to use the roll move mechanism without necessarily just, you know, I am the green camel and I want to roll the highest number. It really doesn't matter what camel wins. It matters which camels you're placing your bets on throughout the game. This is all that chaotic fun that some of those old games provided, where if you roll this number, you're going to win because you might have bets on green this leg, and you're really hoping when that green die comes out, it rolls a good number, and instead it rolls a 1, it gets put on a backwards camel, and that backwards camel carries it backward. It's a lot of chaotic fun, but again, it offers you some more interesting decisions than just saying there's a camel race and you're red, and we're all going to roll and see if the red camel wins. That's not interesting. Saying here's a camel race, they're going to move in crazy ways and you're going to place bets on them. It's a lot more fun. So that's all I have for roll and move. It's pretty easy to understand. It's an often hated on mechanism because it's been used in so many bad, just generic, boring, lazy games. But you can kind of see how you can use that mechanism in these 3 games and many more in an interesting way. So I guess you could say don't hate the mechanism, just hate the people who made the game and used that mechanism. Don't hate games, hate people. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button down below. Also subscribe to the channel. You'll see more videos like this in this mechanism series. I also do a lot of playthroughs, group and solo on the channel, and also lots of reviews. See ya.